Well, it is 6:30, so it's time to get started, and we do have a quorum. So,
You send it to everyone?
the court report? No, I don't think so. Did you get one?
I thought Judge Fusco emailed one out. I got a copy of 2 emails from him.
Oh,
Hey, how y'all doing?
I'm fine.
Well, he's here. We can ask him. Did you send in a court report?
The Quarry Report?
Yeah, I sent to Sylvia and the chief, and then she usually sends them out from there. Or,
But I before I left, I looked at my email.
mm,
Well, it is 6:30. Let's get started. If we need to, he can tell us what's in it, and if we want to ask questions, we'll put them both on next meetings.
yeah, well, I sent it out I was there this morning and I sent it. I can resend it or whatever, however y'all want to handle it.
Yeah, if you can send it right quick to Jared, it would be the best person right quick.
Yeah, no, I should have done that. Yeah, there's.
Let's call roll here. I'm gonna call a meeting to order. Mayor Pro Tem Paul, it does not seem to be here. Is that true?
It's 31.
Yeah, she's trying to dial in. She's having trouble, I think.
Okay. Councilmember Villalobos,
Present.
Councilmember Allen,
Here.
Councilmember McLeod, absent. Councilmember Bunker,
Present.
and Mayor Devaney is present. So we have a quorum, and we will carry on. The next thing on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. And Jared, can you help us?
Just look behind Jared.
There we go.
There you go.
There you go.
Let's say that stand pledge. I pledge allegiance to the
I pledge
flag.
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to
To
the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
I'm here, folks. I got on.
All right, Mike's here.
Right.
We're gonna
All right,
count.
Jared, I just sent you a copy of the report.
Thanks.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
All right, we have one public comment came in, and actually it's a council member that wanted to speak as a citizen. So it's Sonia, and we're gonna let her go ahead and talk this go round. We did not have any others that came in before the new deadlines. So Sonia, you're on.
Okay, and then my husband is just here, for support. He's just here next to me. So I share in the heartbreak and pain felt by millions across the country in response to the killing of George Floyd, as well as the countless other Black Americans who have died at the hands of brutality and injustice in this country. We mourn for the lives lost, for the families grieving, and for every person who has been affected by the systematic, pervasive injustice across the United States. This is a devastating and heartbreaking time in our country. I stand with those in solidarity, and I struggle to find the words to express the sadness that I feel at the senseless death of another unarmed Black citizen in the custody of the police. All public officials should be held accountable for advancing the well-being of the people they serve. I dream of a system of justice that consistently upholds human dignity and the equal protection of law. We must work together as citizens to continue asking the hard questions and producing answers that may be difficult for those in power or positions of privilege to accept. This is not the time to be fearful of causing discomfort to those who perpetuate the violence. We must challenge those who inflict physical, mental, or emotional harm or mockery because they actively or passively support systems of racism. A desire for systematic change compels us to work together to disrupt the racism that has beget violence in our nation. It begins with our homes and our communities and ourselves to listen and seek to more fully understand that the many events that have led us to this point, it begins by work to challenge those who view Black existence as a threat. People coming together to stand up for each other and demand justice. At the same time, some are compounding this pain by resorting to further violence and destruction. If we want our criminal justice system and American society at large to operate on a higher ethical code, then we have to model that code ourselves. It starts with us. It doesn't matter if we're in a big city or we're in Martindale. How we act as citizens, it'll show. We need to be caring to one another. This is a small community. I'm proud to live here. I could say that I really respect my neighbors, and we're blessed to be here in Martindale. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sonia.
Lobos, can you please send me that so that I can place with the minutes, please?
Yes, I sure will.
Okay. That brings us to the first set of the agenda item on reports. The first report is the mayor's report. So if Jared can go to that set of slides, I think everybody can see what's going on. First thing to report on is the census. We're not doing too good. We are, last Thursday, we were at 44.4%. The national average was 60% reported so far. The state average was 54.9%, and the county average was 50%. So we were trailing the pack. So everybody, I urge all the council members to please, when they're talking to constituents, to ask them if they've taken the census. The process is simple. You can go to the web page that you see on that slide. It's my2020census.gov. It doesn't take very long at all. You can also respond by phone. The enumerators have started. They've been held off by the COVID activity for a while, but we had an enumerator in the city. He was actually looking to how to get across the river to Guadalupe County, but they have started going door to door now, and so we'll see some more of that. But as we've talked about some of these grants that we recently have been applied for, and actually there's some good news on that front later, those are tied directly to our population. So we need to make sure we get everybody counted. So please keep after that. Second thing is on COVID. This next page is on COVID, which of course the state's still under the open Texas order. It's effective, at least it was on 5/28, and it still is today. Restaurants are open to 50% now. Hermanos in town has opened up at 25%, and they're still taking sit-down guests. Highway 80 opened up for sit-down guests when it went to 50%, so they're also open. And Shades, I think, is still closed. I haven't heard anything from those folks. The Martindale Cafe folks are trying to open up this weekend, at least with the soft opening. So things are beginning to get back to normal around here a little bit. Churches are open as long as they practice social distancing rules. But the social distancing rules are still in effect for gatherings. So police are still on the lookout for people who are in public places that are not following the social distancing rules, and we'll speak to them and say, hey, you really need to spread out, etc. State order left the parks open, but the playgrounds remain closed. So you'll still see the signs up there in the park area where the playgrounds are closed. I expect sometime in the month of June that there will be additional instructions along those lines. Of course, we closed our city parks on May 8th due to the overcrowding and the lack of social distancing and the safety issues that went along with that. Since then, New Braunfels opened up their river parks. San Marcos opened up their river parks. The local tubing industries have started. We waited till 1 week after San Marcos had opened up to try to see if some of the out-of-town guests would go back to where they came from. And this past weekend, that seemed to have worked. There was still a lot of people down in the parks and going into the river around Skull, but they weren't packed like it had been. So that could have been contributed to the weather and the river rise. But we're going to keep an eye on that.
Mr. Devaney, can I say one thing real quick?
Sure, you can ask the question.
I'm just going to make a comment that some calls were made and Guadalupe Sheriff's Department actually ran some people off at Skulls. So that was a good thing. They were really getting out of control down there. So I don't know if you did not, but it improved dramatically.
Okay. The other thing along COVID is we've been making some minor changes at City Hall. A lot of y'all have not been into City Hall recently, but we are doing what they're calling engineering controls to meet the requirements of the Open Texas category that we fall into in preparation to open up sometime in June. The first thing we had to do was go put up some screens and move entrances around a little bit. So that happened. That has occurred. The next step is getting some equipment. We want a temperature or thermometer that's a non-contact thermometer, so we can take temperature measurements of employees as they come to work each day, and some other PPE that we want to have in there. So we're trying to get that. We're shooting for later in June, opening up after the middle of the month, but opening the doors again to the. That's on the utility side. On the side, it's a little more involved. There has to be a written plan presented to a county or district judge. Tony knows the name. We have filled that out, signed it up, and it's off for review and approval. And when we get that and get this equipment in, then we'll be ready to open up the courts again. The courts were turned loose yesterday, start taking walk-in business again. Not our court, but across the state rules allowed the courts to get back to operations yesterday. We still need to get all our ducks in a row before we do that, but we're working on that. On the next page, it talks about some of the activities. We worked last week trying to figure out if we would be able to hold the 4th of July parade and meet the safety requirements associated with that. Biggest driver is we don't have enough help to go ensure social distancing, and we would have to come up with a way to keep people apart. Gary was our source of manpower. We called them last week. They are not back yet and don't have a date when they will be back in operation, although they think it's coming. But the closer it gets to the 4th of July, the less we have time to plan and figure out what's necessary. So I made the decision we will not be issuing a permit for the 4th of July parade this year and will not be advertising it and talking about it. We won't stop people from riding in their cars down Main Street on the 4th of July and yelling "Happy Birthday, America." That's still plenty capable of going and doing, and there will be probably some people doing that, but we can't have 1,000 people shoulder to shoulder downtown without something in place to keep them safe. And so we're not going to be doing that this year. So I'm sorry. And as of last Thursday, we still only had one documented case of COVID-19 within our zip code. It was a young lady that was quarantined. She was a young lady less than 10 years old, and don't know exactly the address or anything or names or anything, but so far we're still in that position. And one other thing, there are a couple other things that have occurred since we prepared this stuff last week. First one is good news. We talked about the coronavirus relief fund grant that we were going to go after. If you recall, that was tied to a certain amount of money per head count in the municipality, and that we would be eligible for 20% of that money immediately. We applied for that and have received that. We got that yesterday. So there was about a little over $13,000 that was put in our grant fund to help pay for other stuff that we were spending on COVID-19. So that's good news. The other thing that has to do with disasters is Cristobal. There's a tropical storm that turned up today, or reached that level today down in the Gulf, and it is in exactly the wrong spot for us. It is right now. They kind of think it may go east of us, or hit Houston or New Orleans, which is not good for them, but would be best for us. If it goes there, we'll be okay. If it comes further west, to Corpus or the valley, we can be in trouble. Or if it goes even further west and goes into Mexico and loses a bunch of steam, then we'll probably be okay. But I urge everybody to keep their eye out on that on the news this weekend to see where that thing's going to end up, because it's one that if it gets out over the hill country, we can be into real trouble. And it's that time of year again. With that, that's all we have on the mayor's report. So we're going to Jared and the city administrator's report.
Hello, everybody. So today's going to be a short one for me. Two main updates. The first is we received quotes or proposals for a grant administrator for a hazard mitigation grant that's offered through HUD and managed through the Texas General Land Office. The grant administrator will provide pre-award services, including preparing grant application documents, and then post-award grant services to include maintaining the reporting, overseeing subcontractors, and making sure that we're fulfilling our obligations under that grant. The grant will be used for hazard mitigation activities, including those that were, or primarily those that were approved as part of the Caldwell County Hazard Mitigation Plan, of which there are 3 projects for Martindale, including stormwater management, road closure capabilities on bridges, and I believe there's one other related to infrastructure. So we'll be selecting, well, we have selected a proposed vendor to proceed with. That's based on an evaluation that we did internally with the city staff. And we are right now going through and writing that contract. It's with our legal department of one, and we'll get that back from him and proceed with negotiations with that vendor over the next couple of weeks. And so we'll bring it back to city council for approval of the contract, and possibly we might need a resolution adopting them as part of that grant process, but we'll have that ready for probably the July council meeting. The next one I want to update on is a wastewater treatment plant and services systems. And we have successfully received the 2 additional pumps, flight pumps for our apartments lift station. Those will be installed here in the next week or so. And we have also conducted maintenance on the generator. The generator is up and running now, thankfully. We also have done other enhanced fixes, repairs to include being able to pull pumps out of Crockett Lift Station and addressing other floats and things at Madison. So we're in a better position than we were about a year ago, but there's still some work to be done, and I'll be updating you with those updates in the future. And that's all I have for today, unless there's any questions. All right.
All right, and that brings us to Dwayne with the financial report.
Hello, folks. We could start with the cash balances. There we go. Balances as of May 31st. These accounts were all reconciled yesterday. So these are up-to-date funds. You see we ended the month with about $11,000 in the general fund, $5,700 in the street and road fund, and then $17,000 in court restricted. You see the police balance staying the same at $31,36. Utility fund had $16,000. Deposit fund had $13,992. That community development fund that shows $5 in it, we've had $10 for many years, and they decided to take $5 service charge out of it the other day. So I guess we need to see if they're going to keep doing that. But that is also the account where this $13,000+ in funds that Mr. Devaney mentioned has already been deposited there yesterday, and we've already dispersed some checks out of that. So then you see a little further down the emergency fund at $207,000 and the PFIA fund at $194,000. You see our overflow fund there of $155,000. I'll probably have to draw a little more of that before the end of the month, as we're in that part of the year where we have to use that overflow to fund the cash flow of the city. One thing on that emergency fund, I think we make projections on amount of interest that's going to come in, and that interest is way down with the latest in the financial markets. So we may have to revisit that later on. And then you see the capital fund. We haven't spent any of that money that was set aside, and we continue to fund the fines to the tune of about $1,500 a month. So that is the cash balance. Any questions on those balances? Okay, so let's look at the budget for the general fund, and you can make that a little bigger. There we go. So you see our revenues through May are at $490,000. If you look over toward the right, we're 5 months in. Excuse me, we're more than 5 months in. We're 8 months in, right? So 8 divided by 12, about 2/3 of the money should have come in at this point. So property tax revenue, you see 97%. We continue to get about $1,500 a month there. It looks like we should get there by the end of the fiscal year, our entire budget. Municipal court revenue is way down. You see we're only at 42% of plan, as the traffic flow on Highway 80 has drastically reduced since the stay-at-home orders have gone into effect. You see franchise fees are still ahead of plan, as well as sales tax revenue. There's a couple extra lines you see down there. Local municipal jury fund, local traffic fee. Looks like I misspelled traffic. Anyway, these are new fees that are being collected now with traffic citations that I suppose I need to, they say they're local funds, so I don't suppose I need to restrict them, but I guess we may need to review that. Those little fees have started
Where
coming
did you get those?
Excuse me?
You're getting those off of Letty's reports?
They are, yes. Yeah.
Maybe Tony can talk to that when we get to that. That's kind of news to me.
Yeah, I've got a little I've got a little report on my desk. Go ahead, Tony. Did we lose him?
No, I'm here. I was muted.
Okay.
Yeah, no, those new, I mean, you're right. Those aren't restricted, but they are new. And I know as far as that right now, that's all I can tell you about them right now. I'll look into them and we can talk about it a little bit more at the next meeting. And I can speak with you about it when I see you. And maybe I'll have some more details on that, but other than what you just said.
We just need to make sure we know how to handle this.
Yeah,
Sure.
I Googled up a report on them, and we can all put our heads together and figure out what we need to do with that $3.10.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, scrolling on down to personnel, you see that those line items are 66% of budget, so that's right on plan. So no surprises in personnel. Go on down to operating expenses, and operating expenses are at 47.7%. So those are in line. If you go back up to the previous page, let's see if any total line is out of line. Looks like we've got some office supplies and that are over budget, and then liability insurance, that's prepaid. That's why that's that way. But the office supplies and some of those other supplies, I'm going to be adjusting now that we've gotten this grant money. We have fronted some of these expenses. I looked yesterday. I think we've already spent about $4,000 or $5,000 of that money that is actually in these reports at the moment. So so these expense lines will be adjusted for that. Okay, let's go to the next page. Other expenses, transfers out. Those are monies that we transferred over to the utility fund that had been placed in this fund in the prior fiscal year. Let's see, and then on down into contractual services, 63.8%. That's in line. Ones that are over 2/3, audit fees, contributions, library, and I thought I saw one other, street maintenance. Okay, so I guess none of those are alarming at this point. We had a large payment this month where we finished the tree trimming around town. So so that project has been completed, I believe.
Yeah, the only thing I'd point out here is that we're 90% of budget, and we're still going to be dealing with some rain over the next 2 months at least. We have a road repair scheduled to take place in the next week or so. We're working on the scheduling. And once that's complete, that's going to basically take that line budget item to 100%. And so additional repairs, we're going to be looking to use savings from other fund accounts than what's shown here.
Or wait till October and start with the new money for next year.
Yeah.
We got 4 months to go. We're going to use up the rest of it here in this. So it'll be 3 months to go. You may have to go over a little bit.
I have a question in regards to the roads and street repairs. What kind of feedback has anyone received about all the work that we did when we hired 2 different people to do all that work this last time?
I did a survey of the repairs. I didn't notice every single one, but I drove like 5 miles an hour on every road throughout the city, and I only saw 2 or 3 that were showing some level of disrepair. Those 2 of them, from what I recall, were located next to larger, seems like base road issues where the whole road is collapsing, so the repair itself is also collapsing. Another one might have been a quality control issue. I'm not sure, but it was a pretty small one. For the most part, they seem to be holding. It's the areas around them that are starting to break up. But that was before the most recent rains. That was about 2 weeks ago that I last looked at. So.
And so we're talking about the process where they blew something into it.
Correct.
Describe what that, okay.
Yeah.
I feel like it went well. I feel like the ones that at least I drive on regularly have held, except for the big ones that happened just because of the rain.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll try to take care of as much of the big ones as we can. We'll follow a similar procedure, try to fill them in with road base to make that spray in emulsion mixture last, get as many holes filled as we can with, because we only have about 1 load's worth. So.
And last question about that. What kind of time frame, here we are every month, I believe this information would change. So we've had rain. How long does it need to be dry for these potholes to be efficiently repaired?
So the repair itself can be made while wet. It's better when dry. So what they'll do is they'll fill it up with road base, and they'll basically take a big air hose and try to blow as much water out of it as they can, but they can still make a patch repair even while it's wet.
Okay, so
probably not while it's raining. It's probably not the best case, but if it's still a little damp, we don't have to wait for all the holes to dry out completely.
Good to know. Thank you.
Hey, Jared, a quick question. Maybe it's not right time to talk about this, but we talked about maybe putting the hot asphalt once we, put the pothole repairs with the hot mix with the chip seal.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've seen multiple areas in the county where they put that hot mix right over the paved road, the old road, and it seems to be doing pretty well. So I know we need to discuss that in a future date, but that's probably our best solution once we get all those potholes repaired with the chip seal.
So that will definitely make them smoother. I don't know if it's going to repair the substructure of the road. So I have to make a decision based off of how long we expect those repairs to last. Depending on the circumstances of that road section, it may only last a year or 2 by doing that method.
But
substructure is good, but it's just rough. It might hold for a little while longer.
I did talk to the operator just verbally when he was putting that chip seal in, and I asked him if those repairs would hold up if you put a hot mix over it. He said it'd be fine. That's what the operator told me. So I was thinking, down the road when we do this in the future, that we put the hot mix like over in the falls, all over the county. That's what they're usually doing. And I think once we get these potholes repaired with a chip seal, we probably need to start talking about maybe getting some extra money and on the bad sections, maybe do a section of hot mix.
If I may interject, I just want to say point of order. Now it's turning into discussion.
Okay.
We're going over the budget, and then like if we need to discuss this further, we could like put it on the agenda or do it at a workshop.
I'm finished. Thank you.
Okay, so let's go on to the next page. Should show the, you can see the total there, income over expense through May. Now, the next page are the vendor balance detail in the general fund. These are payments that were made last month. You see the tree doctor there, which is the big one that we just talked about. Scroll on down through and let's see what other payments there are out of the ordinary. that galls we don't see every month. That's uniforms for police officers. Go on down through Quill, Reuben Brooks. He's the guy that's been cleaning the city hall. There's some payments to Tommy. Versio is the IT firm. Okay, so really the only thing out of the ordinary on that report is the trees that we already discussed. Next would be the utility fund budget report.
Speaking, I have a question about Versio. Is that a monthly bill, or just was an unexpected expense?
No, that bill goes back to some of the work that we had done in the fall, I believe. There were a couple of bills that came in like January or February that I missed in my email, and we caught up on, with them on.
Okay.
And I think that was one of those. You know, it's funny, I get so many emails from them that when on support issues, and when one comes with a bill attached to it, sometimes I miss it. But anyway, here's the utility fund. You see $192,000 has come in year to date. That's roughly 2/3 of budget, which is as expected. You go on down and expenses are at 69%.
I'm a participant.
So, I'm sorry?
Go ahead. There's a.
Okay. And then let's look at the bottom line. Those expenses appear to be in order. So yeah, we're at $8,800 to the positive right now, and it's mainly because of that money that we transferred back in from the general fund. What that was the permit for the waste treat plant did not come through it as high as the reserve for it was, so we got to transfer that money back in. So even though we've had a lot of repairs in the last month on the lift stations and such, we're still positive cash flowing in the utility fund at this time. And then there should be a listing of bills that I paid. No, not that one. That's outstanding ones.
There it is.
There you go. All right. So there are funds that were expended out of the utility fund. Those payable to the general fund are related. You see they're for administrative and payroll overhead. Holiday products, that's in regard to one of the pump repairs. And then Texas disposal, that's the big one for the water, the garbage. And then you see wastewater services. They're our vendor who handles the maintenance and the repairs of these issues that we're dealing with right now that Jared mentioned earlier. That zone, that's another pump related thing on that project. So nothing out of the ordinary, or at least not unexpected there. So I think that is it. Those other two reports are for the consent part of the agenda, the payables that are outstanding. But that is the financial report. Everything continues to stay on track financially. So that's good.
I have a question. Mr. Anderson, on the vendor balance detail,
Yes.
page 1, about Midway pollution control service. I don't remember seeing that before. What is that?
That's a firm that tests some kind of pH test or something that we have.
They test the effluent and the grounds where we have the basically where we water the
On
grounds.
a street wastewater permit requires that monthly we have a pH test and what's called a BOD, which is, my mind is
Something baseline oxygen depletion or something like that.
Yeah. So we have to do that monthly. And so Pete or Joseph goes out there and takes a sample and sends it in, and that's the fee to go test that. And then once a year, per the permit, we have to do a soil sample test, which is much more expensive. It's about $1,200, $1,300 to go do that. And they take core samples of the dirt out there and send them into these people. And so they bill us and we go on about our business.
Hey, Jared, I just got a text from Mary Paul. She's trying to get on and she can't talk. Something, she's muted or something. Can you double check?
Is her phone number ended 64? Let me try this. Mary, if you're on, try talking.
Yes.
There we go.
Yes.
There you go.
It does. So what do I do? I don't know what to do when I'm muted and I want to say something.
I didn't recognize
Hello?
the number. That's all.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I'm good now. Thank you. I have a question for Jared. For Mr. Anderson. I know that you said that we were in line for the same number that we received or that we expected in taxes, as far not, let's see, what is it? Taxes from our businesses?
Yeah,
Isn't that what you said?
yeah, we are at this time, but I would expect it to start dropping next month. But we're so
Are we a
far
month
ahead.
behind or?
Yeah, it's really kind of 2 months behind. We on about the 10th.
Okay, I thought so.
On about
Okay.
the 10th, we get money from the prior month, and the prior month is really
Right.
based on sales the month before that. So, yeah, we'll probably start seeing some decreases, but analysis I've seen shows that we'll probably still end up on plan for the end of the year.
Oh, okay. Oh, by the end. Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Then thank you. That's the only question I had. Thanks.
The one issue that I know of that we're probably not going to recover on is municipal court revenue. That is just, we're so far behind. I said the same kind of thing last year, but we were a lot closer than we are this year. I don't see us making it up because we've been shut down for 2.5 months, 3 months. We'll see. We're working hard to go get regular operations back in force. Okay, Dwayne, thank you. The next one up is the court report.
Yes, good evening, everybody. You've got the report there, and as the mayor just alluded to, yes, the numbers, they've seen better days, no doubt. I think that in the coming weeks to a month, when we resume collection efforts and the citation numbers go back up, we'll be able to get back on track. I would also like to note that I have not been able to, we were on the phone with the Office of Court Administration this morning, and as of right now, you may have heard, anyway, they had a malware attack about a month ago, and they're still trying to sort it out. So actually, as of the 1st, and now I've got 2 months of OCA reports that have to be submitted and I've just been checking back every couple of days, and this morning they told me that we would actually get an email when we could actually submit reports. Because right now you just go on the site and it just won't, it's just shut down. It won't let you on. But anyway, I'm staying on top of that. So as soon as I get that email and they're up and running again, then I'll get those court activity reports filed. As to the mayor also alluded earlier about the COVID-19 court operation plan, we put that together. And with the help of the mayor and Jared, we got that submitted to, it's together. And what we're doing, it's waiting for the health authority, Dr. Lawrence in Lockhart, to sign off on it. I had emailed him earlier today, as a matter of fact. again. And once he signs off on it, then I have to forward it to the presiding judge of the Judicial Administrative Region, our region, which is Judge Stubblefield. And then once he'll give the final approval. And then once that's done, then we can commence our non-essential in-person court functions, okay, which is what the June 1st date signaled that everybody could start doing that, but subject to subject to your plan already being accepted. And I'm sure there's some courts somewhere that have already got it, but the courts that I know and that I communicate with on a daily basis right now, I don't know anybody that has their plan accepted and that is doing anything other than Zoom hearings at this time. I know the Hayes County, they've been waiting. The health authority and the county judge has been sitting on their application for some time actually, and they're looking, it's going to be like July or August before any of that happens. Just for point of reference, not that that has anything to do with us, obviously, but as soon as we get that going, then we can, get up and running again. We do have an account. We're in the process of getting an account registered with the Office of Court Administration, which is how all the Zoom hearings, anything that we choose to do, whether it's pretrial or whatever it is, that once we have that account established, then everything goes through them. It's like what we're doing right now, except it's running through the OCA. And so that'll give us an option of doing things, remotely that we can't do in person. So, but anyway, that being said, does anybody have any questions about any of that?
Not me. Anybody else? Thank you, Tony. We're moving on to police blotter now.
Okay, yeah, y'all should have your blotters in front of you. So if you have any questions, be happy to answer them to you.
Going once.
Hi, Harry. This is Mary Paul.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to publicly thank you for having someone monitor the river over these times. You have just been right there whenever I needed you, and or you sent someone, and I just want to thank you for that.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate that.
I feel like we have more people, officers to work it too. Am I correct on that?
Yes, ma'am. We have the 3 part-time officers that were working different hours, different shifts. We're rotating around, and it does feel like we're getting. It just feels like you get more out of 3 than you do 1. They work the same amount of hours, but we've been blessed with when something's happening, somebody's.
Right. Okay. But well, then thank you, and I do notice a difference. So I just can't tell you how much I appreciate it.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
All right, let's move it on to the boards and commission report. Do we have anybody here from the Historic Commission that can speak today? I'm looking down the list of participants, and I don't see Craig. Going once, going twice. Moving on to parks. Sam or somebody here from the parks? Nope. Going to planning and zoning.
Mayor, are we encouraging these people to come, or do we just assume they know we have a regular meeting?
I talked to Sam today in the street. I mean, he knew about it, but I don't think he's.
Oh, okay. Well, that's too bad. I just wanted to know. Thank you.
Lisa, you got anything for planning?
Yes, and basically it's the same stuff, different day or different month. Things that I feel like we need to put on our future agenda items as far as properties and what the city has an envision of being able to accept on them if they are zoned properly. Those are all concerns that continue to come around.
Okay, we got that on the future agenda items now. You mentioned something the other day about planning and zoning meetings on a regular basis. You're certainly free to call those anytime you want, so.
I would like to have them as a standing third Tuesday of the month.
Okay, just send out messages and call them. I mean,
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll do that. I thought I had stated that last month, but I understand. Thank you.
And if you could send out messages to us through our phone, does that work? Is that what you're saying, Rob?
No, I think it needs to go out similar to what the others do. I mean, everybody has an email list of their committee members and send it to them and say, hey, we're going to have a meeting on this day. It's got to meet the 72-hour rule since it's the council. But other than that, you just got to say, I'm going to do it. We're going to do it on this day. Here's the agenda, and post the thing. And if she can send a straw man agenda to Sylvia, and she'll take care of it. Now she can't. We can't have it if we have to post it on a Thursday. You can't send it Thursday at noon and expect it to happen. You need to, get out ahead of it a few days. But
Right. I'll send one for the 16th.
19th or 16th.
16th.
Okay. Yeah, that'll work. Yeah, you're right. Okay. The River Committee, is anybody here from that? Going once, going twice. And then that brings us to consent items. We didn't have any minutes, I guess, this go round. We had the 2 sheets of accounts payables, which are pretty small.
I make a motion that we accept the accounts payable as presented.
I second. This is Jan.
The Lisa motion and the Jan second. All in favor? Wait a minute.
No, you got to go one by one.
Yeah, I got to go one by one. I won't know who's saying what. So Mary, how about you?
Yes.
And Sonia?
Aye.
And Mike?
Aye.
Not the 2 that made the motion, so it carries 5. Oh, all right. That brings us to agenda item number 7, discussion action to approve a new annual contract between the Martindale Community Library and the city of Martindale. Let's see here. So we met during a workshop. No, last month at the regular meeting we met and it was suggested that we getting on with this library contract, get it set up for the budget process. So that's what we've done. The library put together what they suggested. We ran that by Kent, ran his changes back by the library, and Jared, do you have this on? You can bring up. There it is. There it is. Let me go over a couple of things. I guess.
Hey Rob, can you tell them the one thing I finally did?
You made it shorter.
That's it. You always say I make things too long. I made this one shorter.
May I ask a question? This is Mary Paul.
Yes, ma'am.
Am I correct in that we were told, or I thought Kent said it, that we could not do a multiple year contract?
Yeah, we talked about that, and Kent, I'm gonna let you weigh in on what that is. He's got some verbiage in there. It's an item 1.
Yeah, it's the language. The saving provision is subject to annual appropriation.
Okay. Yeah.
So I mean, we could we could conceivably enter into a 1,000-year contract subject to any appropriation.
Right. Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we reduce the amount to 13,000 and do it on a yearly basis, and it will be reviewed in the year 2021. I believe that's what it is, and in June.
Okay, so let's, well, before we do that, let's go over the rest of it. The figures that are in there, the amounts in there, of course, are the amounts called for by the TASLAC recommended minimum amounts from TASLAC. And so that's what we've been running to before.
ASLAC, that's the administrative code, is that correct?
No, TASLAC, Texas Libraries. Heck, I don't remember what the acronym.
Library and Archives Commission, but yes, it is governed under the administrative code.
Thank you.
Right, but yet it is, we can give half of what that's what we're required for them to be accredited, but they're required by the state to have the remainder amount in however they get it, whether it's through fundraisers or whatever way donations. But as a governing body, the city is the only one they can go to. So, and it says that they are only required to provide minimum half
of the MOE.
That's right. That was discussed last time in the workshop.
So that's why I say 13,000.
What was the MOE for 2019?
26,000.
26,000.
There you go.
I thought it was 25.
I believe it's going to round up to 26.
Right.
Wherever they bump me up.
Okay. Well, I have a question. So, Mayor Devaney, you want to finish up what you were your discussion?
That's one of the major changes. And then the only other major change that we made in this agreement was we took out the requirement to go off and make a monthly, quarterly listing of what they spend the money on. That started out as a good idea to provide transparency and turned into nothing more than arguments, etc. What we, the city, get out of this is a accredited library that's free to our citizens. And what the library gets out of this is the funding necessary to stay accredited and keep progressing. And so there's no need for us. I mean, we don't go in there and demand that Caldwell County CAG give us a listing of what they spend our $9,000 on, or the Sheriff's Department what they spend our $6,000 on, or Civic Plus what they spend our $4,000 on. So, I mean, what we're buying here is a library for our citizens.
I think if I can interject, I would just like to say, you know, I wanted you to get through the service agreement first without any interruptions. But since there's discussion on it already, I believe that right now during this time, whenever there's uncertainty, not knowing if fundraisers would be able to do, being good stewards to our community, we need to fund it for the total amount as stated. I know that there is between with what Councilmember Paul is stating and what's listed in the 18,000, I believe she said she wanted to do the 13,000. That's a difference of 5,000 for the first year. I know that, you know, with some decisions we've made at a council, we went with higher, you know, amounts on bids. We could definitely do this. And I think our citizens are worth it. I think we would be helping the library during this time of uncertainty and expecting her to fundraise, expecting the ladies to fundraise these, you know, that volunteer their time to figure out how to make the rest of the money during a pandemic.
Sonia, it also includes not just fundraising, but grants that they receive, if I'm not mistaken.
But see, like in order for them to get the grants, in order for her to do the grants, she needs to have the funding.
I need to state on some of those grants I get that if you reduce funding, that I have to repay the grant. And I just put one in on Saturday for $6,635 for new computers. And if this gets reduced, I will have to rescind that grant. I told them I would call them on Wednesday morning to say, take the grant out.
And might it be?
Is that need to be reduced because you don't have the total amount, or because the city is not contributing the total amount?
I didn't understand the question.
You're muffling a little bit, Ms. Paul.
Okay. Can you hear me better now?
Now we can't. I can.
Me too.
Maybe I'll get. Anyhow, I hope you can hear me because y'all heard me fine a while ago. So I don't know what happened, but I want to know if this is you have to pay it back if the city reduces the amount,
Yes.
or if you just don't pay, or if you don't have the total amount. Because what I'm suggesting is that we provide part of it and y'all come up with the remainder.
The document that I have to sign is if you withdraw funding, that I must repay the grant.
But we're not withdrawing funding.
From 18,000 to 13.
That's a reduction, but not a withdrawal.
It's the same thing.
No, it's not. Kent?
What does the appropriate licensing agency deem to be withdrawal? And I would have to look at the language to see if a reduction qualifies or meets that definition, because it may or may not. I don't know.
It is if the reduced funding. It states that when you go for the grant, if you get the grant and the city has reduced our funding, then I must repay the grant.
Are you reading that verbatim?
No, ma'am, I don't have it in front of me.
Can you get it, or do you have it on your computer?
No, ma'am. I'm at home. I'm not at the library.
All right. The verbiage makes a lot of difference.
What's it contained in?
Well, I didn't see anywhere in the code, Mary, where we only have to do half.
It's there.
I saw in there, what is it, chapter 1, 1.81 is that you can do per capita at certain amount of money per person, or the 18,000, which is what it is this year, or whichever one is highest. It's my understanding. But I'm not sure. I guess we can reduce the funding. I mean, is that okay to reduce the funding for
a minimum of, we are required, if she wants to be accredited, to provide a minimum of half.
I have something that I need to say
Of the MOE.
I'm about to come out.
I know you keep saying that, and I hear that. Jan, did you hear that?
Yeah.
Of the MOE, and the MOE was 26,000, which therefore half would be 13.
I need to say something. Mayor, may I be recognized?
Lisa, go ahead.
I would very, very much like for all council members and anyone else who is discussing this to put the verbiage that you are using in an appropriate manner. This is the library. It's not about a particular person. And all I'm hearing is she and she. And personally, I take offense to that. Call it what it is. If you've got a personal agenda And that's the reason that you jumped before we even went through the document. And it shows that.
I would also just like to add that, with seeing students that had to use Wi-Fi that would be hanging out by the library, that because they're able to provide the free Wi-Fi, they're a valuable asset to the community. I think our citizens are worth it, the investment.
Absolutely.
We're talking about a difference of $5,000. If we could, bid on services, on tree services that we overbid, well, we went, which, that's fine. That's how it was voted upon. But whenever we could do that, we're cherry picking. We're picking out, where we want to give more and where we don't. Which I believe our kids, our youth, our citizens are worth it.
Agreed.
Can I make a suggestion here?
Yeah, Mike, you hadn't weighed in yet.
Let's do a compromise. Let's say, let's keep it at 18. Just for let's do it by year and keep it at 18 for this year, and then wait for the next following years for the 21 and the 21,000 for 22. Let's just do it for this year, 1 year contract. Therefore, we know exactly if we're going to have de-annexation from those two neighborhoods.
Okay.
And I think that might be a good compromise. Don't reduce the 18. Give them 18 and do it on an annual basis.
Mayor,
That's my 2 cents worth.
That Kent, go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, Mike, that is exactly what this allows, because under the Texas Constitution, this is subject to annual appropriations.
Yeah, but let me finish though. I mean, in the document, I think what Jan and Mary are upset, they go to 21 and 22, and in 23, I said, can we possibly just eliminate that verbiage for now and stick with the 18, what we're paying presently, and then we'll do it on an annual basis. That's what I would say would be a good, if everybody's in agreement with that, I think that'd be a good compromise for both sides.
And if anyone will remember, in our last meeting, this is actually the reason that we did future years and not just one.
But again, Lisa, we have concerns with de-annexation of those two neighborhoods. So let's just do it year by year when we know we have the funds available and we don't lose 40% of our tax revenue if they de-annex. I think that's my personal opinion. That's a good compromise. I mean, if the other council would agree with that, I'd say keep it at 18. But
I would like to ask our Dwayne a question, since he's with the finances.
Mr. Anderson.
Okay, I'm here.
Okay, Mr. Anderson, since you have the finances right there and you could kind of roughly gauge it, even if they de-annexed and that went through, would we go broke budgeting the library?
No, I don't think over $5,000. No.
Thank you.
The other thing, if I may, way back in, was that part of the reason that we went for more than just 1 year at a time was so that the library could apply for grants in the future year. The only way they can do it is if they know they're going to get funds. So by extending that contract to more than 1 year, I mean, if we have to go to 2, that's better than 1, but 1 puts everybody on their heels all of the time and with uncertainty.
Okay. How about 2 years at 18,000? I mean, just compromise, folks. I mean, I'm trying to get both sides here, but
we appreciate that, Mike. We really appreciate.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Just let's compromise instead of all drawing a line and saying let's negotiate and compromise on this. I don't want to defund the library. I'm not against the library, but let's do it.
Well, I'm not either.
Yeah, we're not, any of us. I'm just saying that I still say, our roads are in trouble. We have issues, and it's de-annexation. I think we need to be careful with our money. And if we're giving them 18, you know what? Let's continue, but I don't like the verbiage of 21,000 for 22.
But if we as council members can vote on services that's $7,000 higher that we're providing to the community, but
I'm
not
just trying
provide it to our
compromise.
library,
I'm just trying to compromise. That's all I'm trying to do, is do a compromise here.
I know, but
Mike, I am willing to be flexible on my motion, and 18,000. I would be willing to amend my motion to 18,000, but I want to make sure that we're able to get out of the contract, do it for 2 years, but get out of the contract if we have financial reasons to do so.
like it states that in the contract. We need to give them 6 months. That's what it says. That's what our attorney just said. That's what our accountant just said.
You know what I don't like about that is because they've already been paid.
Hey, folks,
That was just for
let
the.
me speak. Can we compromise here? Can't we all get together and negotiate this and compromise? I see both sides. Let's just compromise. And let's compromise. You always compromise.
I'm trying, Mike. I'm trying.
Just compromise. She's willing to compromise, folks. Listen to her and do a compromise.
So can you go into and discuss the termination policy a little bit? There might be some ambiguousness there about the subject to appropriations, and then how that reflects to a 6-month notice when the appropriations are done in September, but payments are being made in December and March.
So here's the way it works when the budgeting time comes around again. This council can bind this council, or it can bind for the fiscal year within which it operates. It cannot bind outside of that. So let's just say in the next budgeting process, when we're looking at another year, if this council remains the same or it's different, either way, the allocation or the amount stated in this contract for 2022, that council could say, we don't want to fund it. And they're well within their rights. This is subject to annual appropriations. And
so how does that relate to the 6-month notice, Ken?
Well, I mean, it's language that the library put in there that really is of no grand import. Okay. The city is constitutionally protected. Okay. If the council in the next budgeting process says we're not going to fund $21,000 in 2022, whatever it is, they don't have to.
Why can't we just put 18,000 in there then? I don't understand.
I like that.
I mean, this reads more of a memorandum of understanding. You could.
I mean, we're trying to compromise.
I just don't feel comfortable with that, because what if her MOE changes? What if it changes whenever she gets her paperwork back?
Tanya, she's trying to compromise with you. Let's compromise. This compromise is a government. Let's give and take.
I understand that, but like all this stuff, compromising and questions.
We're not. I mean, we're keeping the same.
We're not going to defund. To her.
We're not defunding the library. We're keeping it at 18,000. I think that's fair, and just keep it at 18. And if those 2 neighborhoods don't de-annex and we got the money, they can raise it up. Just keep it the same as 18,000. I think that's a good compromise.
I'll compromise for 18 if you donate 3,000.
You got more money.
Oh,
you're being.
You donate 1,500 and Mary Pa 1,500.
All right. Okay.
Listen now, and I'm gonna have Jared turn the place off.
Point of order.
We've had a proposal to drop the first year to 13. I think I heard Mary say, "Well, Mike."
No, we had a motion. We had a motion.
Okay,
I made a motion.
I did not hear a motion. I just heard a statement.
Hold on.
No,
Hey guys, can you hold on real quick? So technically, Mary made a motion that wasn't seconded. So technically, we had no motion on the floor that was proper for
Well,
discussion.
I make a motion then that we have a contract for 1 year for 18,000 to be reconsidered for an additional year.
I second that.
Now it's on the floor for discussion.
All right.
How's that compromise working?
May I say something?
No,
Please.
Carol, yes.
No.
please do.
no, we're down to.
Actually, I do
we're
have a
down to- we're
question
getting ready to vote, so
For the
you don't
library.
say anything. Okay, so Mary moved to change the thing from 3 years to 1 year.
Well, it's really 2 years. I say 2 years, but we want to renegotiate it. I mean, reevaluate, what do you call it? Review it at the end of the first year.
Is that a substantive change, Ken? I don't think that'd be substantive, would it?
No.
Wait.
Why?
What I think I heard, what everybody quiet. What I think I
Really,
heard,
what I'm doing is change it 3 to 2. 3 years to 2 years at 18,000.
2 years with 18K both years.
I
That's
second
it.
that.
All right. And Mike seconded. Now, let's go around the room and talk about it. And so Mike, you seconded it. You agree with that. Lisa,
2 years, right? Is that
what
right?
do you
2
want
years?
2
Correct.
years, 18K both years.
Okay.
Lisa, what do you say?
I disagree. And reason being is that when you are trying to operate an organization that is involving grants, there is a length of time, not only in the grant process, but in the funding process. And if you do not have the security from whomever is backing you to be able to apply for those grants in whatever time it may be, 2 years is insufficient. I think it needs to be 3.
All right.
You said 2 earlier.
Now, Jan, it's your turn now. What do you got to say on this, if anything?
I have a question for the library. Carol, you still on?
Yes, ma'am.
I thought you only wanted a 1 year contract,
No, ma'am.
but, well, so you do want the 3 year contract, because you told me you just only wanted it for a year.
I've because of the grants, because of what I'm going after, my biggest grant right now is taking 2 years to put into motion, and it's still not done until July. If I don't know where I'm going the next year, it's going to be kind of tough.
Okay.
Because that grant is one that if y'all pull out, then I'm responsible, and I don't have the money for that.
Okay. And
Library is
I
responsible.
do have a question about your MOE being at 25, and that does include was your expenses, or 26, whatever. But I'm looking at the local funds at 17. That's what we contributed last year, correct? 17,567.
I'm sorry, I don't have that paperwork in front of me.
Yeah, it's basically, I just didn't understand between the local funds under your final report where it said other expenditures, and that was like section 3.8. And then in section 3.9, which was total direct expenditures, was the 25. And I just didn't quite understand that. And the numbers I got from Dwayne, our expenditures were about 10,000. So I'm not quite understanding. Let's see.
And I don't have that paperwork in front of me. I can't look at it and tell you what it is.
Well,
Are you working off of the annual report?
See it. I have the annual report with me. I don't know, can you see it on my screen?
I think I've shared it. Is this the same report that you're referencing, Jan?
No, let me find you.
That is my annual report, Jared. That is my annual report.
Right.
Yes.
I believe this was sent out as a read ahead to a previous council meeting.
Right. This was, so if you scroll down to 3.8, it's about local funds. And because I think I understood. Yeah. Because the total was 19,000, but you included some non-grant fund in that. So I figured that didn't include our expenses. And then at the bottom there, the local funds used for other library operating expenditures were 17,000. That's correct, right? And then if you go down to 3.9, which is your MOE at 25,000.
25,959.
My MOE is
Approximately
4.2.
Sorry.
My MOE is at 4.2.
And then down on 4.2, go down to 4.2. See, there, yes,
There it is.
it's the same amount. And then this local government funds used for library operating expenditure. So, and that's, it looks like about the amount that I saw from Dwayne's numbers. So that all kind of looks good to me, except for the 3.8, the 17, it doesn't have to match the actual 10,000. I mean, there's like $7,000 in there that.
Can I go back? Can you go back to the part that you're, what number?
3.8, a 3.8B, the local funds used for library operating expenditures. So I'm just seeing like a $7,000 difference there.
Is that including ours, the libraries?
What do you mean?
I mean, y'all don't pay for everything. We pay for some. Is that from us?
Right, that was everything you paid, the 10,000. So we have other expenses that we pay.
Wait a minute.
For the library.
Do I have other expenses?
Does the library have other expenses that the city just automatically pays? I just had a question about those two numbers.
Without going back to my notes, I don't want to answer because I don't want to give a wrong answer.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, that's.
But you know, I gave this to y'all last week. I haven't had anybody call me back saying, you know, can you explain this? Well, I had the documents in front of me where I could go over my notes. That's why I did not bring it home.
Right.
It was my understanding.
Just something I wanted to bring up to council. That's all.
Okay, so.
And I do have a comment. I don't mind the 3-year contract as long as we have some mandate.
Aren't we voting? We're voting.
Not yet. We're just talking still.
What I
We
would
haven't, okay.
Give her an opportunity. Jan needs to have the opportunity.
I will. Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize.
I don't mind the 3-year contract as long as we have a mandated time in city council to reevaluate the contract or the agreement. It would be best to do it after the annual report because that was very helpful. Thank you, Carol.
You're welcome.
On understanding how the money is spent. And I think that's where a lot of people are having trouble with you know, where the money is going is, and, you know, where it's right there kind of in front of you with the annual report. I did have a couple of questions and probably should have called you ahead of time, Carol. My mistake. But, you know, as long as we are able, you know, it's mandated somewhere in the agreement that we do have some kind of time to reevaluate the agreement.
And it does state in the terms, it does state in the terms and termination that it is subject to annual appropriations. So
Yes, but
it gives us what we
this
need.
month, I kind of had that thing that Jared was talking about, you know, 6 months. Now, and another thing we didn't discuss was that we did change the dates so that the funding for the library is more accessible.
Right.
So, and she doesn't, her annual report doesn't go out until June. That doesn't give us 6 months till October, which is our fiscal year, correct?
My annual report is reported at the end of March.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We're just not able to talk till.
I don't get any kind of feedback from the state until August.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know what they're going to say.
Yeah.
I just assume that everything is good until I hear different.
Okay.
Anything else you want to share, Jan?
Other than I'd like for it to state that the city council reevaluates each year somehow.
Okay. And Sonia, you're up. Sonia, you still there?
She's on mute.
Yeah, okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just wanted to say at the 18,000 with our citizens that we have, so the 18,000 divided by 12 is what?
1,500.
Oh, a month?
Yeah.
Do a monthly.
18,000 divided by 12.
And
1,500.
Okay, and then divide that by our citizens.
The number of citizens on the population sign?
Yes. So how much is that per person if they wanted to use the library in Martindale city limits?
$1 a month.
I think they're worth it.
Less than $1 a month.
They're worth it. That's you know, with us talking about this, with the difference that it is, are we saying we're not willing to invest as a city that much in our citizens?
Are you insinuating that?
Can I suggest something that may?
I don't think that's fair, Sonia.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Mary, let me ask you if this would address your concerns. At the end, well, it should be you see where it says responsibilities, and then at the very end of that paragraph it says December 1 and March 1. What that sentence reads, it says city agrees to pay library these amounts in 2 equal installments each year on December 1 and March 1. What if at the end of that we added a comma? It said, comma, subject to renegotiation at the time of annual appropriations.
Wait a minute. I thought we were supposed to change those dates.
It was pointed out that if we change the dates, because I've already set this date and it's in my report, if I change those dates now, that it messes up my report on how much money I got from y'all and how I expended it.
Okay.
And is it true, if I understand or remember correctly, if we would have not defunded the library 2-3 years ago, whenever, we wouldn't be in this dollar amount as we are now?
I'm not understanding your question.
It's probably best that you don't. I retract.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, Kit, hold your thought for the next go round in case this doesn't go. Okay, we've had everybody speak but me. I guess I get a chance here along the way. What we've seen from her annual reports, first year she was accredited, it was about 18,000, I think. The next year was about 23, and then last year you saw it was 25,959. We round that up to 26,000. You add those 3 years together, you come up with a number in the $60,000 worth of benefit or cost for the library. And you add that with the grants that you saw at the last meeting of some 60 to 80,000, depending on what you want to talk about. And you say over the last 3 years, the city of Martindale has benefited to the tune of about $150,000. And what we've paid her, or paid the library, excuse me, I don't mean her.
Thank you.
Is about 50 grand. So you get $150,000 worth of benefit for $50,000. That's a good deal anywhere you go. And we're sitting here picking nits, in my opinion, over the amounts. So I'm ready to, I've said my piece now, and I'd like to go call for a vote on this motion. We have a motion to change from 3 years to 2 years and change the amounts to $18K for both years. So we've had, Mary made the motion, Mike seconded it. I'm gonna go, I assume they're both in favor of that. Lisa, yay or nay on that motion?
Nay.
Jan, yay or nay on that motion? You're muted, Jan, I can't hear you.
My mistake. I say nay.
A nay? And Sonia, what are you on that motion?
Nay.
Well, that motion fails 3 to
2.
2, excuse me, 2 to 3. All right, now we're ready for another motion.
I would like to make a motion that we accept the library service agreement as entered into by the library of the city of Martindale for a nonprofit corporation for the provisions of free library services and the facilities located in Martindale, Texas as presented.
I second.
Just a minute, give me time. I gotta keep my notes going here.
Do we call Sonia? Motion. Keith. Ellen.
I was disconnected, so I need to know what just happened after Jan said nay.
Sonia said no, and that motion, your motion failed 2 to 3.
3 to 2.
Two
Okay.
yeas, 3 nays. Okay.
Okay.
And now Sonia has made a motion to accept the contract as presented. Lisa has seconded it. Do we want to go for another round of discussion, or are we ready to vote?
Vote.
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 All right. So Sonia obviously is for, Lisa's for. Jan.
Stop, Lisa. I can hear you. I can, if we do have some kind of evaluation set in motion for the for a city council meeting.
Say that again.
Talk about that in the future. I say yay.
Yes.
Say what now? What did you say, Jan?
Yay. Yes.
Yes.
You wanted to add something to it?
I'll do it for future items.
What? I don't understand.
She said yes, and she'll do it for future items.
Future items, explain, please.
When we go down to discuss future items, I will talk about it then. I don't
understand. I don't understand.
I want to mandate a city council meeting.
I don't understand what you're saying.
She's saying that she's going to talk more about this under number 9, future items.
All I'm saying is that I'd like to have a mandatory city council meeting to review the contract each year.
Well, that's what we're not.
Can we get done with the vote?
On future items.
All right, let's move on to the next one here. Mike, yay or nay? I didn't catch that.
Yay, what the heck? Go ahead.
Yes?
Yes.
Mary? Did we lose her again?
Nay,
You're in that.
nay,
Okay, yeah.
I'm a
The
nay.
motion passes 4-1 to use it as written, and we'll defer to item number 9 for Jan to make.
Did we miss Sonia?
No,
She made the motion. I assume that was
Oh,
Sonia made the motion and Lisa seconded it. So those two were yeses. And we had 2 other yeses. All right. Thank y'all for your participation on Zoom with one of these things. It's a little tough today. All right, the next thing up is item number 8, which is discussion only. It's about some training we all need to take, and here is Jared.
All right, good evening, council. So these slides were presented or provided to you in your emails, and I'll go through them here briefly. So in 2019, the state legislature passed a bill that requires all elected officials and city and local government employees to undertake cybersecurity, and the references are provided on the slide. And how this is reported is according to the title and verse of the government code. Let's verify and report on the completion of a cybersecurity training program by employees of local government, and then we are required to conduct periodic audits to ensure compliance with that requirement. The deadline to complete the training for local governments is June 14th, which is this coming Sunday. The city must certify training compliance by Monday, June 15th, using the Texas DIR reporting tool that they have. It's a form that's filled out, the cybersecurity training and certification for local governments form. It's available online. The training may be undertaken in any method as we choose. However, the training has to be approved prior by Texas DIR. And we must retain local government documentation that all people who are subject to this training have completed it, and that we have audited the completion records, essentially. So make that easy on us, it's 100%. We're a small city. It's not like we have a staff of thousands. It's going to be, once we have 100%, we will report. I will report the completion on the DIR form on Monday. The compliance method is we're going to leverage the TML Intergovernmental Risk Pool. They have provided a free training resources. I've looked at a number. Some cities have chosen to develop their own. Others have used commercial vendors. Some are available online. Some are in-person conferences. I find that the easiest way to do this is to watch a 17-minute video that's available on YouTube, and then to respond to a 10-question knowledge assessment, basically a check-on learning exam. The video is available at the link that's within the PowerPoint presentation. And the knowledge assessment is located on our website with the link provided also within the PowerPoint. When this applies to city staff and elected officials. So everybody on this call, if you have access to, if you have access to the city computer system, then you're required, I believe, email counts. I believe you have an email address, so it would pertain to you. And I believe the same is true for the judge and Steve Ramsey as well, our engineer. So I sent this to him. So once you watch the video, complete the 10-question check on learning, send me a scanned copy or return a hard copy to my box at City Hall. And also, if you could, as a courtesy, if you turn in hard copy, let me know via email that you did so I can track completion. And again, the reminder is must be done by Sunday, this coming June 14th. or next Sunday, I guess, June 14th. And if there are any questions, I'll be happy to respond to them.
Please send out reminders.
Will do. The video is actually quite entertaining. It won't seem as long as 17 minutes. They did a really good job with it. If you haven't watched
Got to pass the test.
I thought you were going to make us watch it right now.
We can.
No.
I'll make a motion.
All right. Any questions about that? Going once, going twice. And that brings us to future items. Go back to the agenda, my friend. We got a strategic planning thing, or if you recall, when last we left our heroes, we heard about what inputs had come in. Jared had boiled it down to about 25 or more initiatives. Our staff don't have the resources to attack them all. So I think the next stop is to pare that down and pick the top few.
Yes. The next presentation would be a review of the draft, outline of the plan itself, and then review the initiatives for prioritization.
So if we're going to have a planning and zoning meeting, Lisa, the question is 2 Tuesdays from now, how long do you envision that taking?
Not very long. Might have 2 items.
Okay. With that in mind, I think we could go back to back. We'll do the planning and zoning first, and then could do a workshop to work on the next phase of the strategic plan. Everybody in favor of that, or anybody against that?
I agree with that.
Going once, going twice. All right, we're gonna try that one on 6 and 16. The third item on the prior list was Chapter 93 Park Ordinance Review. I have given that to the Park Committee, the Advisory Committee. Talking to Sam, they're not, because of social distancing and all, they haven't got around to that yet. So that probably, that isn't ready to go yet, but could be maybe in July. And then Chapter 151 of the Code of Ordinances regarding dilapidated houses. We could do that in July maybe as well. I don't know.
And I would like to, and it'll probably springboard from the meeting on the 16th, but I would like to add reviewing our zoning ordinance. And it may be just a small portion of it, but if we don't get started, it's not ever going to happen.
All right. Now, Jan, you said you wanted to go set something up that causes us to review the thing within the 6-month window, or outside the 6-month window, I think is what you wanted.
Yeah, I think April would be a good time because that's the month after the library's annual report.
Can that be connected to the financial, in other words, from Mr. Anderson? That would be something that he could remind the council, since the council may change, to bring up in that month. Would that be appropriate?
We have a problem with our ability to go off and remember.
Well, that's kind of why I wanted it in the agreement.
Yeah, well, even though we seem to run right by those.
So the annual report is shared with the city, and I can present it as part of a city administrator's report.
Good.
Thank you. That's what I would recommend.
Thank you.
Have it part of a report.
Yeah, as part of the city administrator's report, I can report what's in it, and then if we want to at that time also include it as an agenda item for discussion, or based off the report, make it a future agenda item.
What they might not know, Jared, is that you have to sign off on that report, and that is not included in the report that they were able to get to. So you would be the person, the representative for the city, between the library and the city.
Okay, that sounds good. Also,
Anybody got anything else they want to get on there?
I do.
Okay, well,
I'm noticing that for road repair, or it's at over 60,000 now. I think I'd like to start a discussion on some kind of a road repair.
oh, you're talking about the long-term capital improvement.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
I agree with that.
And let's go ahead. I don't know, we'd at least have a discussion about it of, you know, how we're gonna choose which road and yada, yada, yada. I know we've already done a chart, but I think we kind of need to start over.
Okay. And
Mayor,
what's that?
I just wanted to ask, like, don't you have all the documentation from whenever we did the road study?
No, we do. We can go over that again. This is, I don't remember how many, but I think there were some new players here. It
Well,
was
we can bring that.
2 years ago or whatever. We can do that. No, this is a good idea. Let's go.
Yes.
Let's get ready. You know, before COVID, this year was shaping up to be another one like last year, and I felt like we were going to have, you know, the 100,000 that we started targeted originally necessary to go pick a road and go give it a whirl by the end of this calendar year. With the COVID stuff impact, I don't know. It's hard for me to tell. The good news is we've gotten access to this CRF money, so the impact on us is probably going to be just whatever revenue doesn't come in that would have come in if it hadn't had all of that. So we'll know by before the year ends. You know, by August, we're going to have a pretty good idea of how much we've got left over. So it's a good idea that in July, or at least the August meeting, have a session talking about if we had $100,000, what the hell would we do with it? And so that's a good point. I'm all for that.
Mr. DeVinny,
Yes, sir.
could we add to Jan's thing about procedures about repairing roads or something in there? And we're talking about the roads because, you know, like I said earlier, that I think we ought to do what the county does, and you know how they do it seems to work well. If we could discuss that, would be great. Also.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Those are probably work sessions. I don't know what everybody's summertime travel plans are, but we probably need to plan on having one of those in mid-July, this third Tuesday. So let me look.
Are we having a meeting for planning and zoning?
Yes.
Third.
We're going to do that on June 16th.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 16th. But that's going to be full of Jared's strategic plan and the P&Z stuff.
Well, we can push it back to August. That's fine.
Well, no, we could do. No, that was in June. In July, we could do it on the 21st. So y'all pencil that in. The 21st would be another work session to go think about long-term capital.
Mr. DeVinny?
Yes,
Is
sir.
there any way in these workshops we could get the road contractor to come in and maybe use his expertise also in discussion?
Which one?
The road repair.
You want the Texas Patcher guy? You want?
Yeah. Text. You know, I do apologize. I said earlier I kind of interrupted, but he did tell me that you can do repair. You can do a hot mix over that, and I'd like to see him actually say that in person in front of all of us and get some sort of procedure down here to do some kind of a long-term fix on these roads. You know, so I would appreciate we put that in there in the workshop.
We'll see if we can go do that.
Thank you, sir.
He comes out of, I think he comes out of Burnett. So when he comes for the day, and then he goes.
Okay, maybe we could do it when he's working on the pothole. Can I speak real quick?
Sure.
Maybe we can arrange it on his schedule when he's doing the the chip seal repairs. We could have maybe get his schedule and have him come and talk to us.
Okay, all right.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
We can do that.
We could have him zoom in.
Well, that's a good point. Now here, let's talk a little bit about that. Of course, we've been using Zoom. We talk over each other. We run into everything. Our plan is that in June, we're going to open up the city offices back to the public.
But why can't we have special guests zoom in?
Maybe. Our problem is we don't have Zoom on any of our computers because Versio hasn't installed it, and we haven't approached them about it because of the security issues that Zoom had. So there's some work to be done to go make that happen in the city chambers. But what I was leading up to is that we're kind of targeting the July meeting, which would be July 7th, to be in-person meeting again. We'll do the June 16th meeting via Zoom, but we would like to do I think it's time for us to get back to where we can look each other in the eye and we can be a little more civil to each other and the like. So what's everybody's feelings about that?
I'm all for it.
I have a question.
Okay, Lisa.
I've noticed, and I'm assuming it's been based on the fact that it is more difficult for us to collaborate in this platform. But I've noticed that our agendas are thin. They haven't been lacking in substance by any given stretch, but there's not 16 items to be decided on. So I'm just curious if that was based on the Zoom, and if we agree to a June 2 meeting in person, is it going to have 57 items on it? I'm being a little silly.
I don't believe the agenda length has anything to do with Zoom. I think Zoom and the agenda length has everything to do with we are consumed with reacting to the COVID issue instead of the things that really the long-term improvement activities that we had been working on, such as ordinance reviews and procedural changes and the like. But working on grants and to cover this, et cetera, has taken up a tremendous amount of my time, Jared's time, the staff's time, and I think that's what you're seeing.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
I don't believe it has anything to do with Zoom, but it's just difficult for us to really march around the room and say, oh, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? When we're always talking over each other. And I think everybody's getting frustrated with that. So I'd like to go back to in person. Now, we've had some discussion between Jared and myself with this recording process to see if we couldn't go get that and be able to post the recordings on the web page so that we actually, but that's going to take some work as well to figure out the process to do that, and also the legalities and some stuff. So there's some work to be done there.
And
so that's not going to happen anytime soon.
I have one other question. Is it possible because there's going to be a when we go back to gathering in person, that if myself or another council member or staff member felt it was not okay for them to do so, that they would be able to chime in?
What we will have to do is we will have to somehow figure out how to get Zoom on a computer there in the conference room. It can be done, I'm sure. It's just we haven't taken the time yet to go off and work with the boys at Versio to make it happen.
We should be able to get it done. It's a matter of getting the audio equipment installed. And our service provider right now, we're working through a third party for the subscription service. They provide that integration work as part of their line of business. So we could reach out to them and see what that would entail. It will likely include some microphones, cameras, and some integration cost.
I think it's time, and I think quite frankly, based on where we are and what we have been lacking, that those funds could come from the grant that we are receiving. Y'all can think about it. It's just a thought, just an idea.
That's plausible. We'll have to look into it further, but I think it's possible.
We need it, and this is why.
Okay, with that, I believe we are
Mayor,
at the.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to make sure that with our plan to reopen to the public in a safe manner, that we do have to have the appropriate postings as far as people coming into the meeting. They cannot have the fever. We have to have the sanitizer outside of the door. I don't know if we're gonna have somebody there taking a temperature before somebody comes in, the mask. So we have to make sure that we have all the PPE and all the procedure down and the correct paperwork displayed. That way we're following the protocol that CDC requires. And to, just provide safety for our council members and our citizens and anybody who wants to attend.
Agreed. Excellent point.
How about maybe possibly have it outside, maybe even? That would actually, maybe if the weather's allowable, have it outside. That way you're out, it's a lot less chances.
Use electronics.
In June at 97 degrees, no thank you. That's okay, I will be on Zoom anyway, so it's all good. Y'all do what you want.
Okay, we have migrated off of future action items into brainstorming. So
Yeah.
I'm to the point where we could have somebody maybe make a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn this meeting at 8:26 p.m.
I second that.
Mary, are you still with us? Yay, nay?
I don't think she is.
Sonia, are you still with us?
I'm here.
Are you a yay for adjourning?
Yes.
Jan?
Yes.
All right, we got at least a 4 and a missing person. I believe that qualifies as passing. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Everybody stay safe and healthy.
Yes.
Thank you, Mike.
Good night.